Okay, I'm adding this to my playlist devoted to basic shuffles and useful shuffle principles. So what I have here is an inverse pair of shuffles to demonstrate. Now the first one's called the Klondike Shuffle. Okay, and that's one I've used a lot on my channel, and so you'll see it in action today. So that's represented by the letter K. And then the other shuffles are Monge shuffles. M-O-N-G-E. Now, they come in two varieties, an under-over and an over-under. Okay, so those are the two different kinds. Now, depending on what you hope to accomplish, one of them will be good for even size packets of cards, and the other one will be good for odd size packets. Okay. Let's go ahead and we'll start with an even size packet. I have ace through king, which is 13 cards, so I'll go ahead and just set the king aside for now. So now I have the ace through queen, so 12 cards. Okay. So the claim here is that if I perform the Klondike Shuffle followed by the Monge under over, it resets the packet to its initial order. Okay. So I'll go ahead and perform the Klondike. So this is where you take the top and bottom card off as one. Okay, that's a Klondike Shuffle. Okay. Now I want to show you that the cards are scrambled a bit, right? They're not super mixed, but they're mixed up a fair amount here. It's mixed enough that I think a lot of people might think they're somewhat randomized actually. Okay. But if you follow that shuffle with the Monge under over, it undoes the effect of the Klondike Shuffle on this even-sized packet of cards. Okay, so what is a Monge under over? Well, this is where you hold the cards and then you push the top card into your other hand, and now it's going to be an under over. So this card goes under, next one goes over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Okay? And the claim is those two shuffles together, those two sets of actions, are the same as just leaving the pack alone. Okay? You haven't changed the order of any of the cards in the starting packet. Okay? So they're just back to ace through queen. Okay? So that will always work for you. Okay, and you can also do it in the opposite order. So for the math-minded out there, these are two-sided inverses. These are full inverses here. Okay, so they're not one-sided inverses. So we could do this one first. So go under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Okay, once again, I can show you. Now the cards may not look quite as mixed up as they did after the Klondike, because of course you see the odds over here and the evens over here. But if we follow that up with the Klondike, it's going to essentially reset the packet again. Okay, so just think through, how valuable is it to have a pair of shuffles that you can perform that give the impression of just mixing the cards beyond the knowledge of anyone, when in fact you know exactly what the total effect of those two shuffles is having on the packet. I mean, that is very valuable information to have, okay? So that's the Monge under over followed by a Klondike. Now, because these are, quote, full inverses, what that means then is if you were to perform two Klondikes followed by two of these under-over shuffles, it will also reset that. So as long as you perform as many Klondike shuffles as you're going to perform Monge shuffles under-over, you're going to put that packet back in its original order. Okay? So it's pretty amazing. So that's for an even number of cards. Okay, now it's a little bit different if it's an odd number of cards, but not that different. Probably easy enough to remember. Okay, so for an odd number of cards, such as 13, which we now have if we add the king, the only difference is the Monge shuffle needs to be modified slightly. Instead of doing an under-over, we do an over-under. And that will essentially cancel out the effect of the Klondike shuffle on this packet of cards. Okay, so if we do a Klondike first, okay, so we could proceed like that, or you could have started with the over-under first and then done the Klondike. That would be fine as well. Okay, now of course, since we have an odd number of cards, when you perform the Klondike shuffle, you'll finish with a single card, right? So you'd expect that since it's an odd size packet. Now, and once again, I can show you the cards are, they're pretty scrambled. Okay, pretty mixed up there. Okay, and then if we perform an over-under, okay, so this time you push this card, top card into your other hand, and now the next card goes over, then under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And that will bring it back to its original state. Okay, so a very powerful set of shuffles to be aware of because there actually aren't that many common systematic shuffles that are used today that actually have a known and easy to perform inverse shuffle. Okay, but this particular pair is one of the few that are available to us if you're going to stay within the normal repertoire of shuffles that are commonly used. So that's for an odd size. And as I mentioned, you could perform this one first and then the Klondike. That would be just fine. So how could we, well, there's just countless ways that you could take advantage of this knowledge here. There really is. Because the bottom line is the spectator is watching the cards be mixed in a way that it would be very difficult to track where things are going, but yet you have perfect knowledge of the cards. Okay, so why don't we just do something kind of, fun here. It's just a simple application, I guess. So let's go ahead and just kind of mix the cards here best we can. Okay, so we'll do a table wash. So here we really are mixing them beyond the knowledge of anyone. So what you could do here, there's countless things. I just thought of this one right now, live. Okay, so what you could do is you could show the spectator, boy, look at how well mixed these cards are. They really are mixed up well. Okay, and then all you would need to do, for example, is if you just note some card of interest, like for example, the Ace of Hearts. It's kind of a popular one for people to supposedly randomly choose, okay, if they're asked to, right? Well, if you just make note of the fact, where is it currently in the ordering of the cards? Well, this is the top card. Remember, the cards are face up, so when you flip them over, everything reverses. This is the top, that's the bottom card, right? So where is the Ace of Hearts right now? Well, it's not the bottom, it's not second from the bottom, it's third from the bottom. Okay, so this is, let's just say you made a mental note of that. Okay, the Ace of Hearts, third from the bottom. Okay, and then you just gather these. And the whole reason for showing those cards is to just show the spectator that the cards are a mess, right? But they don't necessarily know that you've just noted the location of one of the cards, and they wouldn't even know why or how that would help you. Well, it will help you if you perform a pair of inverse shuffles. So for example, if you say, well, let's mix up the cards here since we both saw them just now. So I'm going to perform a Klondike shuffle. Okay, so that's a good way to just scramble the cards, bring the top ones and the bottom ones together in kind of a messy way. And then we'll follow that up with, now we do need to remember, right, we're in the odd situation, right? We have the king in here. Okay, so remember that. So we need to perform the Monge over under. Okay, so you just say, and another shuffle that really does a good job is, it's called a Monge shuffle. And so it goes like this. It's kind of a fun one. You just put this card over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Isn't that kind of fun to do? And then it's just going to scramble the cards even further. Okay, well, you would think that after all of that mixing of the cards, none of us could know where anything is. But I'm going to see if that's actually the case. Because in the original packet of cards that we're working with, it happens to have my favorite card. In fact, it's a lot of people's favorite card. It's the Ace of Hearts. And I think there's a reason that the Ace of Hearts is a favorite among so many. And it's because it has higher aesthetic frequency to it and resonance. You can just kind of sense its presence. And that's why people choose it. So I'm going to see if that's actually the case here. I'm going to try to get a feel for whether I can find that most popular, most selected card in the deck here. So Ace, no, that's... Nope, no, nope. No. Wait a second. I think I'm mistaken here. Oh boy. Oh boy, I'm feeling something there. I think it's that one. Oh yes, I am absolutely certain now that it's that one. What are the chances that that is the Ace of Hearts? Well, it's 1 out of 13. Not very likely. Well, would you like to put a friendly wager on whether or not I'm correct? But the fact is, you know that is the Ace of Hearts because it's third from the bottom. That's where it started, right before the mixing. And you performed an inverse pair of shuffles so that it's returned back to where it was before those two shuffles were actually performed. Okay, so anyway, that's probably a pretty simple application of the power in having knowledge of the ordering of the packet after supposedly mixing the cards beyond the knowledge of anyone. Okay, so anyway, so I thought I would share this fun inverse pair of shuffles with you, and I think it's one that's not too hard to remember. The only detail you have to keep straight is whether or not the Monge shuffle is under over or over under. Well, the way that I remember it is the word odd begins with the letter O, as does over under. Okay, so that's how I remember. So if it's an even packet, I know it's the Monge under over. If it's an odd size packet, then I know that I have to perform the Monge over under after I've performed the Klondike or before I perform the Klondike, right? Okay, well that's enough on this fun inverse pair of shuffles. It's a very useful one to have. It's kind of a utility move, I guess you could call it, or a card mechanics tool to have in your toolbox, I think. So anyway, thank you for watching, and take a look at other videos on the Absolute Math Magic channel.